This is my 2003 Bonneville 790 and I need to change the piston in the brake master cylinder. I've had this bike 3 years and I've done roughly 3,000 miles on it. When it came to me, it had been really well maintained, but now it's time to sort out the brakes. It all started when I noticed there was the slightest bit of fluid just here. These aren't the standard JIS screws, these are Allen headed ones that have been used as replacements. So I took the cap off, saw that it wasn't leaking, but the fluid was looking brown, so I reverse bled the system, which means that you put a syringe on this end, on the bleed nipple, and pump it all the way back up to the top. And when I did that, I blew the piston, so now there is no braking effort. I'm going to change the piston. I bought this kit through eBay from TRK Braking for £38 instead of the 78 that World of Triumph wanted, and I'm hoping that this is going to be a good solution. So first thing, tip the handlebars over as far as they will go, keep it on the side stand because we actually want to get in there. So I need to take off the lever. This is a Triumph lever that was fitted to the bike when it was bought. So you need a 10mm socket on there and a flat-headed screwdriver on the other side to undo the pinion. So I've taken off the lock nut and just unscrew that. That's the adjustable lever taken off, and you can see it's all nicely greased. This bike was looked after before it came to me, and it shows in the level of maintenance that's been carried out. In there is a rubber boot that needs to be prized off. Doesn't matter if you damage it because there's a new one in the kit. And then you need a circlip pliers to take out the actual piston. That boot was at the end of its life, so just as well that we're replacing it. If we look down inside it, we can see the circlip and a rather shiny washer, which is a little worrying because that may mean that this has been done before. I've come up against my first major snag. The way that the circlip is set inside this, I can't actually get any of my tools to fit. Ordinarily I would just use a pair of long nosed pliers like that, very sharp points, but they won't go in the aperture. So it looks like I'm going to have to go out and buy myself a new set of circlip pliers that will actually fit in that hole. Slightly annoying. I've been down to Cherry Lane, which is our local garden centre that sells cheap tools, Rolson cheap tools, and I've bought a 4-in-1 circlip plier set, and that has 4 different heads, and as far as I can see they have slightly different size ends. In order not to lose them, I'm sticking them together with neodymium magnets, because inevitably I'll put these in a toolbox and never see them again. The circlip that I'm trying to get out is buried in there. The cover I'm using is one of those that you use as a frost protector in the winter for a windscreen, and it has the benefit of having magnets in it, so it holds itself in place. I've finally got the circlip out. This has taken me about an hour of messing around. I've had to modify this tool. I've also had to make this, which is a sharp point, in order to rotate the circlip. You need to rotate the circlip when it's in here to get the 2 lugs on this side, otherwise you just can't get on it to take it out. Once it's in the right place, it just popped out, easy as that. But it took me at least an hour of messing about to actually get it into the right position and modify the tool to make it work. That's the old piston, and that's looking really unhealthy. Look at all that sludge. I'm going to have to clean this right through before I put the new one back in. Do you know what? I've never had a bike do that before. That's looking very brown and unhealthy in there. I think I'll reverse bleed to get all that dirt out. As it was so dirty, I'm going to reverse bleed. I'm a bit concerned that there might be muck in here still. And I've made a little catch pop. Covered the bike in cloths to make sure you don't get it any on here. This is all greased up. And I'm just going to reverse bleed by using a syringe and pushing it very gently back up from the front caliper. And it will be very gentle. I've just gently squeezed some fluid through, and it's come through, and it's all lovely and clean, which means that the dirt has come down into it and not up into it, which means I can now just clean it up properly and put the master cylinder piston back in, and then fight it in with that bloody circlip. I've reverse bled it, and I've been putting cloths in there to clean it, but it's still kind of gunge adhering to the surfaces, so I'm using cotton buds to give it a good going over. You can still see there's black in there. I want that to be perfect before I put this back together. I don't want any little sneaky rivulets in there that allows the... oh, for God's sake. Oh, and here's the thing, don't get these bamboo Q-tips, they're rubbish. They break while you're using them. The unit went back in really easily and the circlip just popped straight in. So I'm just pressing the end of the master cylinder, and you'll see that the pressure is there. And you can see it moving inside. And also, it's not leaking. You have to be really careful because the pressure in there, it's really quite aggressive. So now I'm going to have to put the boot back on and put the lever back on so that I can bleed it. I sprayed the boot with silicone and then I put it back in, and I just helped it in with the blunt tip of my special tool, which is actually the tine off a retracting rake. The lever's back on, that went on really easily, it's all nicely greased up, all the bearing faces are greased. So now this will have lots of air in it, and the trick to getting it out is just to gently squeeze it and the next thing is to reverse bleed it, so bleeding from the bottom upwards. I started off by reverse bleeding and I wasn't getting a very good result, so I went to traditional bleeding, which is pumping from the top down to the bottom into a pot, and now this is superbly solid. This is what it's supposed to be like, so I'm very pleased with that. Now I need to move the bike around and test that, but I think that's a good result. I'm now going to clean everything with contact cleaner because little bits of oil have got here and there and I don't want it corroding my paint. So whenever you do your brakes, you don't just obviously leap on it and hack it down the road. You need to bounce the forks a few times and ride it up and down on the drive just to make sure it's as it should be.